Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Witco with Ray. And I'm very honored to be in the home of Heather Pleasant. We are in Skagit County, outside of Cedar-Woolley, in essentially your kitchen. But as you see, there's tons of Witco here. And Heather, who is your grandfather?
My grandfather is William Westenhaver, the owner, president, and designer for Witco Decor. Or was. He's
sadly passed away.
Yes, he has.
And Witco started in Mount Vernon. Is that right?
Mount Vernon, Washington, about 30 minutes from where I live today.
Yeah, so we're not that very far away from where it all started.
No.
But Witco has such an original style. And there's so many different things that Witco has created. But mostly what I know Witco from is Tiki. But your grandfather has come up with so many different things.
That's true.
And the first thing I want to ask about your grandfather is he's obviously an artist.
Yes.
So what was his beginnings? Like what got him into being an artist?
Well,
was he a painter? Was he a carver first, or was he a painter? Or what?
I'm sure that he was born an artist. I think that people are born artists.
Yeah.
He was born with that talent, and he always strove as a young man to try to figure out how to make a living doing that, which not a lot of people can. It's rare that when you're artistic, you can find a way to support your family doing that. But initially, the first art I've ever seen from him was when he was stationed in World War II in the South Pacific. He sent letters home to his family, and each of them was accompanied by a drawing or a cartoon. Those are some of his early works that I saw. And then he used his GI Bill to put himself through art school when he returned after being stationed in the South Pacific.
So he fought in World War II?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was in the Navy. He was stationed on a floating dry dock, and he was an electrician.
Damn. Yeah.
And that's where his Tiki influence started.
Obviously so.
Was right there. So,
so Tiki was always kind of there from the beginning. The interesting thing, though, I would say about your grandfather's Tiki stuff, though, it's unique, though.
It is.
It's unlike anything that I've seen from the Polynesia.
Right. He admired Polynesian art, but his first Tiki that he carved was in 1958, and he'd graduated from art school. He'd painted many oil paintings, sketches. He'd done cartooning. He'd done illustrations for magazines, but he was still supporting his family by working in the oil business in Southern California. Yeah. He hadn't transitioned to being able to make enough money to support his family. And when he joined his cousin and a friend at Witco Decor, they created that company together in 1958. Yeah. It was an import business for decor and art.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Witco is
Western International Trading Company.
Western International Trading Company.
Yes.
And from what I understand, it was your grandfather. Was he part of it at the beginning, or did he join on with your?
In 1958, his cousin, who he was close with, and a real estate investor from the Pacific Northwest, created it as a decor and art company, and they invited my grandfather to join in. So early in 1958, they created the company, and by the fall of 1958, my grandfather was the third partner. Okay. And at that time, he suggested wood carving as something that they do as just part of their business, because wood and cedar were so prevalent in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. He thought it would be a cheap way to create new products. And so he carved the Big Joe as an example of what they might be able to do, which is right behind you.
Yeah, this is a little version of the big jar.
Yeah.
But...
And he brought that to a art decor show in Los Angeles that same year, and it was a hit.
Of course.
And from then on, there was no stopping them. And they went completely to wood carvings and stopped the import business.
And what you were telling me is, like, originally they just sold items.
Yeah.
And the idea of, like, actually, hey, let's create our own.
Yes, was
piece,
my grandfather's
was your grandfather's idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you just mentioned that your grandfather was living down in Southern California.
He was. Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach. But the business, Witco, was up here.
It was, in Mount Vernon.
And you were telling me that, like, what he would do is he would actually carve the ideas on, like, soap or something like that. And
on a bar of soap and mail it up.
And then he'd mail it up, and they'd go from there.
Yeah. That first year.
Yeah.
Until he could move his whole family up, and then he would carve then the original from a big piece of cedar.
So then he moved up here then.
Yeah, that same year.
Okay, so and then your grandfather, he moved back to Mount Vernon, or
yeah, he was born in Washington State, out by the coast.
Okay.
And then moved as a child to Huntington Beach, where his grandparents lived, and was raised there, and lived out his life there till his early 20s, but still had family up here. His cousin was one of the founders of Witco.
Okay.
And he moved up to Mount Vernon, and he lived in a little house with his family right on the property where the original Witco factory was.
Hey gang, we'll get back to the Tiki conversation here in just a second, but I want to let y'all know they have t-shirts for sale. They are screen printed in America. The artist is Tony Canepa, and they're going for $20 a piece, $25 including shipping. If you're interested in buying one, go to my website, tikiwithray.com, and then there's a tab that says buy a t-shirt. Click on there and just follow the prompts. So thank you very much. Witco switched over to just making, it was all your grandfather's designs then, right?
Eventually. By, I'd say 1961, 62, they'd weeded out everything else, and it was just my grandfather doing all the design work, and it was all carved wood pieces.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that your grandfather like did point paintings and other things like that.
Yes.
Did he ever sell any of those things?
Not very often.
No.
And mostly because he didn't want to part with them.
No.
He really enjoyed painting, and he really loved the pieces that he created and wanted to keep them in our family. By 1960, they had showrooms across the nation, and he was designing hundreds of pieces every year.
Designing?
Yes.
Hundreds of different pieces.
Yes. He would sketch out his designs. The three owners would agree on what pieces they wanted to go with. He would carve the prototype, and then he would present it to the carvers and show them how to do it, give them templates and all that, and then the people in the factory would take over from there. But he was the main guy. Every design that Witco came out with was from his brain.
That's awesome.
And within a couple years, he bought the other two owners out.
And then it became him.
Yeah.
As soon as your grandfather's designs became prominent with Witco, is that when the success really, really took off?
Yes. They didn't have a lot of success before then. But there wasn't a big gap there either. The company started in 1958, early spring. Yeah. By fall, my grandfather was the third partner. So it was pretty much been him the whole time.
And he wasn't just doing Tiki, like even from the beginning. Like
no. His first pieces were the chess pieces.
Oh, the chess pieces, which I actually have a piece.
Yep. And, very first pieces.
What was the most success? What was the most successful stuff that he was doing at the beginning? So what were the
Tikis.
big? Oh, the Tiki was.
Yeah. Yep.
And were they being bought to be used in Tiki bars, like at that time?
They probably. They focused a lot of their business on the East Coast because
on the East Coast, okay.
The West Coast was already inundated with tiki bars and tropical stuff. And there was a real lack of that on the East Coast and in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And so they took that market by storm.
And you know what? And you know what? It kind of makes sense, because what I love about your grandfather's work is it is just the wood. It's darker.
Yeah.
It's a dark wood. You know, it's not that light tan bamboo color.
No.
And a lot of the places that I've seen that have your grandfather's work, they're dark bars.
Yeah.
Mysterious.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
It's not a light, fluffy
No.
style. It's a dark, mysterious, I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And what I really love about Witco is that there is so many different types of things that were created over the years.
True.
And obviously you have a large selection of things.
Yeah.
And as this episode goes down, as we start making more and more episodes, we're going to go through some of the things that you have, some of your own personal items. And then hopefully I'd like to take this out on the road and visit people that have Tiki Witco collections.
That's
and
a great idea.
And see what they have them talk about it. And then actually what I'll do is I'll come back to you and be like, all right, Heather, what's the story with this thing? What's the story with that thing?
I would love to do that.
And maybe we can get some information.
Yeah.
That maybe a lot of people wouldn't even know existed. Because I know you have pictures, you have catalogs, you got a lot of like behind the scenes kind of information.
I'm a preservationist when it comes to Witco.
Yeah.
I will. It's my passion, and I love to talk about it, and I love to see what other people have, and I love to give tips on how to care for it. And I'm loving that people are rescuing these pieces and bringing them into their homes, and there's nothing that makes me happier.
Yeah, and you have Pleasant Tiki.
I do.
And it's your husband who's doing the carving, who your grandfather taught.
Yes.
The style. And if I understand, things are very, very busy.
We're busy, but we're happily busy, and we're doing what we love. So that makes all the difference.
And you have a lot of things to sell yourself. If I understand, you do some restoration work if people are looking for it.
We do. If people have a piece that's missing a part, or, whatever it is, we love to help people get their Witco pieces in tip-top shape and bring them back to life, bring them back to what they should look like. So yeah, definitely if someone sees this and they need help with the Witco piece, reach out to us. We're happy to help.
Yeah, and if there's someone out there that is unsure if something is Witco, you're the person to ask.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, for lack of a word, counterfeit.
There is, yeah.
Stuff that's out there.
So
there's a lot of stuff that I assumed that was Witco, and you're like, oh no, that's not Witco at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, it could have fooled me.
Yeah.
And you were more than happy to help people out.
I am. Yeah.
Just don't ask her how much is it worth then.
Yeah.